Thank you for joining me today on the Garbage Bag Girl podcast. This podcast is about all of us. It's about the things and the ways that make us feel pushed down and small. It is about how the smallest acts of kindness make the biggest impact each day. No one should feel like garbage, ever. Enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. This is Celeste, author of Garbage Bag Girl. Welcome to the Garbage Bag Girl podcast. Today is an extension of the series we've been doing on the frequently most asked questions that people ask me about my book. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how was your mental health managed during writing the book? And I had a couple of awesome things that I carried with me to help me and to guide me through that process. One was, of course, my amazing trauma therapist on speed dial. We won't mention any names. The other was a book that I talk about frequently called What Happened to You by Dr. Perry and Oprah Winfrey. Highly recommend it. And we'll talk about that on another podcast. And then the other was I met a very wonderful woman. So it'd been about 18 months ago, maybe-ish now. And she goes by Coach Shanna, which I didn't know till today. It's Coach Shanna. But we met at the Christmas Box House shelter. And for me, there was an immediate, I need to know more about her. And I know we're going to do some great things together. I didn't know what that meant. I don't need to know those things at the time, but I just knew it was there. And we have remained friends even since her leaving and moving into her coaching practice. And so I'm super excited to have Shanna here today. She is a certified adult chair master life coach, which we will talk about. But I also didn't know that she's the only one in Utah certified to do this. So we'll let her share more about that. She has her own practice, Shanna Stevens Healing LLC, which we'll provide more information to. But I kind of wanted to talk about, there was a time that you were telling me about the adult chair, and we were sitting, I think we were in my office, we're sitting at my conference table, and I was just talking about having a hard time learning to grieve and to heal, and you just flat out said, well, should we just do it right now? And I was like, do what right now? And you were like, the adult chair. I mean, why don't we just do it? And I'm like, well, you can just do it, like right here on the spot. Like, I don't know, I expected some miraculous go into a room and you were going to set it all up. But the adult chair is not therapy by nature of going and getting a therapist. But I will tell you that it was very therapeutic for me. And so I was hopeful that you could talk about what the adult chair is. What does it mean? What does it look like? How is it different than a therapy session?
Thank you. That's the perfect question that I get asked all the time when I'm in conversation. And it's brought up, I'm stuck in life, I'm frustrated with things. And then I'll be like, okay, well, should we go there? And they're like, wait, what? So like you, in conversation, the whole point of the adult chair is to give you life skills and tools to help you along your way without taking that time to go into the room or into a session. Not saying that therapists don't do their jobs, because there are some great therapists out there. Yeah. But when you have these everyday conversations or triggers that come up for you, how do you get yourself into your healthy adult so that you can manage or navigate from a healthy perspective or a healthy energy? And this is kind of where the adult chair comes in. It's a model that was created by a therapist. Her name is Michelle Chalfant, who had therapy and clients for 25 plus years. And a lot of these clients kept coming back for years. And she's like, we've got to get some movement here. So she created or developed this model called the adult chair model that simplifies the process to give us the tools that we can use I use it daily, morning, noon, and night, and in between. I use this model for myself. So the 3 phases of the adult chair is, the first phase is the child chair. So that's our phase from 0 to 6 years old. 6, 7, around there, depending on.
So that would have been the phase I did.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the 0 means in utero. So before we're ever born, what are our experiences like in the environment that we are in the womb? Is there contention? Is there fighting? Is there happiness? What's the vibrations of the environment that we're in? So from a very young age, our nervous systems are picking up patterns, belief systems. So now once we're born into an environment, again, what's the environment like? Is the mommy's, am I getting the attention that I need? Am I getting the food or the love that I need? When mom puts baby in the crib to cry at night to break patterns, am I not enough to come in and get picked up? Why am I being neglected? All these experiences are happening to us, to our little nervous systems that are creating these belief systems or limiting belief systems.
And we're holding on to those whether we know we are or not.
Correct. We're not in the conscious mindset yet, right? So in this age, there's no discernment. So everything that happens to us is we are trying to make what's true. Our adults or even caregivers, including siblings, the way we're treated is what's true for us, right? So we take these experiences that happen to us, and what happens is it fragments our emotional bodies. So then we take these wounds into our adolescent years. Now, this is where the adolescent phase or the adolescent chair comes in, from around age 7, depending on who you are, all the way up to around 24. 25 is when science says our brains are fully developed, around that time. Again, depending on your experiences. So in the adolescent phase, our wounds are brought to us, and now our ego comes online, and we're supposed to keep ourselves safe, alive, and accepted. And our little bodies don't realize that if we aren't accepted, that we're not going to die. We literally think we're going to die if we're not accepted into a group, or if we get told no, or whatever we're told in an unhealthy home.
We're just not even capable of knowing how to do that.
We're not.
Yeah.
We're not. Physiologically, biologically, we're not capable of knowing what is truth and what is not for us.
But we're so confused because as a teenagers, when you start to think you do know more than you know, we always make the jokes about my teenager, right? Because they're really in that place of pulling, pushing, trying to self-discover, but the brain's not there. But like you said, they have all these experiences that happened from the time they were even in us.
Exactly.
That are still with them, but they don't know.
Exactly.
How would they even know how to manage through that?
They don't know.
It's crazy.
Did these kids ask for things to happen to them from a very young age? No. So here we are in adolescent doing the very best that we can, plus we get hormones coming online and they're trying to drive different directions. We're like, wait a minute. What's true? What's real? So this is ego in the adolescent phase. So this is what we call our false sense of self. This is who the world is telling us to be so that we can stay accepted in these tribes. And I might tell a lie or two just to feel safe.
Yep. Because
I don't know if I'm going to die, if I am told one way or the other, if I'm not accepted one way or another. So here we are, navigating with our wounds in this world through our adolescent phase. So these masks, this is where codependency, this is where anxiety, depression, in the adolescent phase, we take these wounds from childhood and we have to create masks or navigational systems around these wounds. So this is where a lot of the addictions happen.
Yep.
Because we don't want to feel that pain.
Yep.
So in adolescence, here we are, blame, shame, guilt, stories and assumptions are created. We take our wounding from adolescence and it's now given to our adult bodies at the age of 25, around 25 and older. Now we have adolescent people in adult bodies. Yep. Running countries, raising families, running businesses, literally passing down wounds from belief systems to belief systems.
And not even knowing. I mean...
And we're so unconscious about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a better way to describe it. So it does, that context makes a lot of sense then when you said, well, let's just try it. And I had no idea what to expect, but trust you immensely. So I was like, sure, let's go for it. And I close my eyes and you say, just think about whatever age comes to mind. And I remember asking you, like, I'm like, but about me? We're talking about me, right? And you're like, yes, we're talking about you, not me. We're talking about you. And I'm like, so whatever age comes to mind. You're like, yeah. And I can't remember if it was 6 or 7, but it was definitely a little kid, a little girl. I knew it was me. I knew the room I was in. I knew the toys I was sitting and playing with. And you were asking me to just, you were so calm, as you always are, in how you nurtured me through a super uncomfortable space because I'd never done it before. I didn't know what to expect. But you had like this very maternal, it's okay, we're going to take our time. There's no rush, but tell me who you see. I told you who I saw. And you kept reinforcing something that was really important because if, those that have read my book know the extreme abuses that I had. And so it was very intuitive or you just being trained on it or whatever, but you knew to guide me into a space that I would feel comfortable in. You didn't force me or put me into it because you should have said, you're sitting in a room, the walls are green. You know what I mean? You could have staged something and you just let this flow happen that was, tell me what age you think she is and what is she doing? And then you asked me, do you want to talk to her? And I was like, I don't know if I want. I don't know if I'm ready to talk to her. But you really it was the thoughtfulness and the ability to guide and take me into this space. And then with permission, you asked if I wanted to give her a hug. And I remember thinking, I'm not sure if I want to give her a hug. But you letting me have permission to even access myself was a very... one of the only moments I've had where someone has asked my permission. So how meaningful, because I think now today in my book I talk about a sexual abuse situation that happened around the age of 7 of a man that came to the apartment that I was in. When you asked me to think back to that girl, I was in that apartment. And I approached her and it was after the experience. And you said, you don't have to hug her if you don't want to, but I would like you to tell her she's safe. And I didn't make the correlation that I was in the apartment and I was talking to her after that experience and why it was so emotional. And I was crying and tearing up and I'm like, I don't know if this is what we're supposed to do right now, but okay, it feels right.
Yes.
But the whole experience really, really, really gave me for the first time a chance to let that little girl be seen because I'd been told to never tell anyone, which I didn't till I wrote my book. No one ever knew. But you're very good at this. I mean, you really are. I know you've been trained, but you also just have a natural intuition of knowing how to give people space. And that's got to be a big part of it, right? I mean, there's got to be kind of this, don't push too hard, but...
Yeah, thank you for that.
Right?
Yeah, there is an energy here. This model is to guide the child energy, the adolescent energy, and the healthy adult energy. That adult phase is when we are in alignment in our most authentic, true self, who we are here to be. And when you went back and you visited that little girl, or that little girl came and met us in that moment, She'd not seen a healthy adult before. There was a trust. There was an energy of trust in that moment. You did that. I did sit there and allow space like you were safe. There is that energy that we are trained to do as coaches. And you were allowed to do that from your healthy adult.
You said that afterwards, because I remember saying, well, first of all, so you take me through this experience of telling her after she was safe that she did a really good job. You said, tell her she did a really good job. And I told her. And then you said, tell her that she's done now with that job.
How did that feel for you?
It was the first time that there was a release of, because I was a mom to 2 children at the age of 7. And I remember feeling this overwhelming sense of, okay, I did the best I could with what I knew, and I get to move forward and just be Celeste today. As at the time, I would have been 49-year-old Celeste. And I said to you, wow, thank you for that. Thank you for giving me that. And you said, I didn't give that. You gave that to yourself.
That's right.
And I was like, okay, well, there's that. But it really, I think that's what's so important about the model is that it's not only this beautiful opportunity to help the little person in you or the teenager or wherever you go with it feel seen and heard, but then there's a place you come out on the other side where you're like, oh, me, of course I can be a healthy adult because I just did that.
Yes.
I'm capable of doing that.
Yes.
And you get to take that with you.
That's what's true today.
Yeah.
Right? From our healthy adult, we can see what's true today, and then we can give our little parts or little ones gratitude for doing the best that they could.
Yeah.
Because that's what they or you knew how to do.
Yeah.
Right? And then the healthy adult comes in and says, you killed it, little one.
Yeah.
You killed it.
Yeah. And you know, what's extra beautiful, if you haven't already had enough beautiful, is I can recall it. One session, and I can't wait to have more, but one session I can recall and use it. So I can be driving, I can be walking into a restaurant, I can be walking into a meeting, and I can be feeling high stress. And it's very much a meditation skill, but it's more than that. It's because you've done it. So I'm well practiced with my one session. But I've done it enough to trust myself to say, I'm feeling insecure. That probably came from, I know how to call 7-year-old Celeste and tell her she's safe. And I'll just say it to myself. You're safe. I see you. This is going to be okay. You're just carrying some stuff with you.
Yes.
And the recognition of her hearing that allows me to move forward faster than I would without it.
Absolutely.
So,
can I invite you to have her ride with you in your car, to walk with you out the door, and check in with her because her voice still matters.
Yeah, that's right. It's such a beautiful thing. So do you, will you tell us your story?
Absolutely.
That's a big question. Like,
Yeah.
Which one? Which one do you want to know? Like,
Well,
what even brought you into this work? You talk a little bit about it on
Yes.
your website, but I think it would be good for people there because I learned a lot about you. I didn't know on the website as well.
Yes. Yeah, my website says it all. I bear everything on the website. I've had so many people reach out to me because of my story on the website. Yeah. And I don't know if you call it awakening or the timeline, my illuminated path I finally saw. But there was some real tragic incidences that happened to me that really derailed me. I was accused of some things that were not true. And I really had to sit with what came up for me.
And you were young.
This was in 2020.
Okay.
This is just recently.
Oh, okay.
So my young parts started coming up because of this.
Gotcha.
So then that's where triggers happen, right? So we've learned that triggers are our best friends. They are simply a reflection of what's happening inside of us. It's just feedback. We don't have to do anything with it, but feel it. In fact, they say that it takes 90 seconds or less for the body to metabolize an emotion. And an emotion is energy in motion. But it's our vessel that metabolizes that and reprograms that nervous system.
Wow.
And I go through that in workshops and classes and courses. But as far as my story goes, I didn't have these tools. I didn't have this skill set when it happened. I was accused of sexually, how was it put? Sexually preying on traumatized women at a retreat here in Utah. And I went there to heal. I had some beautiful spiritual experiences. The next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call, and they said, "How dare you come into my retreat, traumatizing, sexually preying on these traumatized women." And it blew me away. I disassociated from my body. I don't remember the rest of the conversation, but it was 45 minutes long because I looked at my phone and it had been 45 minutes. I couldn't sleep the next day. I was just ruminating. What did I do? What did I do? Today, I revisit that, and it all makes sense now. We are reflections for each other. We cannot see ourselves. We have to reflect each other. And that's what the world is out there for us. We don't personalize it. We take it as feedback. And I reached out to the adult chair, Michelle Chalfant in the adult chair, and I was just in tears. I was broken. I lost friends over it. I lost who I was. I couldn't eat. It really sent me off the rails. And I was able to go to a life coach, a holistic life coach, who gave me some tools to get myself back, to remember who I am, first of all. And the experiences are not who I am, but they've happened for me and not to me. For us. Things happen for us, right?
Yep.
And not to us.
Yep.
Because without that experience, I know I wouldn't be in this place today teaching others self-worth.
That's right. Yeah, I feel the same way about my book. People always ask me, what would you do different? What would you change? And I say with certainty, absolutely not one thing.
No.
None of the experiences in my book or after my book in the 25 years I haven't even written about yet would I change if it altered where I get to be today and the people I get to meet, the good work that I get to do with, helping 14,000 children a year.
Yes.
All the lives that have been touched and moved just by my book. I just found out today we've sold 10,049 copies, which is crazy, right? Like, what the heck?
That's amazing.
I was like, is that right? He says, yeah. My co-author pulled a report from me, Richard Evans, and showed me, and I was like, I still can't believe it, but I really believe that it's just helped people talk about what you talked about on your website, that healing is a journey, and we do it together, and we find hope and self-worth. And I think for me, the adult chair is so remarkably resonating with my book, because all the foster kids that I meet, and I tell them, I really need you to try the adult chair. I'm not personally going to take you through it, but I'll tell you what happened to me. And right away, they already feel a sense of relief that somebody could even do that. Because they might have grown up, especially foster children in their later years, exiting and aging out of the system. They're maybe 18 to 22 years old. And all the things you talked about, they're carrying with them. And a lot of that is raising siblings. And I didn't realize until the adult chair experience with you at age 49 that I was holding on to, did I take good enough care of my sister? And Mom, it was answered. You did. You did a good job. Congratulations. You get to move forward. She's 7-year-old Celeste still has a voice, like you say. So when
that gives me chills.
Yeah, it's a good reflection for me to always remember that, and recalling it reminds me that I'm brave enough to do it, and brave enough to do the work when I meet people, and it's a tough day energy-wise, because I've met a lot of people, maybe at a book signing, that have been emotionally triggered by the book in some way, and I'm absorbing energy, and I get in my car, and it's just an exercise I have now to reground.
Wow.
That I just talk to her.
Yep.
And tell her she just did a good job.
Yes.
She did the best she could.
Yes.
And we get to move forward. So with your story, did this woman take you through the adult chair? Or did you learn to take yourself by learning it?
She was familiar with the adult chair model.
Okay.
And she gave me tools like EFT tapping or emotional freedom tapping. We can physically help ourselves move through an emotion. And I still use those in my sessions today. It's one of the life tools that helps people immediately. That is in our adult, right? That's our healthy adult, is to use that tapping, to listen to podcasts like Garbage Bag Girl. This is you sitting in your healthy adult looking for a part of your journey. And there's no accident how we came across each other's path. There's no accident that I went through what I went through. And now I'm teaching others how to do the same with those tools in session.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable. I say writing my story was hard, but it's really because writing it was more difficult than living it. And what I've learned through trauma therapy is it's because when we're living something and we're in it, we're doing our very best to push forward, right? We're just moving through it so we can get to the other side. The only way out is through. We're just moving through.
Yes.
So what happens? We don't go through all the healing processes. We don't grieve. Oftentimes we're not angry, or we're angry in the wrong way. We're not healthy and being angry. And so the book took me through, because I write about 3 things I've never even talked about in the book. And the 2 sexual experiences and the bullying. I'd never talked about any of those. And when I wrote them, I kind of purged, and it gave me this opportunity for the first time to be her going through it. And I was sad for the first time, or I was grieving the loss of people for the first time, or feeling the loss of a childhood that I didn't get to have for the first time. Frankly, just pissed at certain times, or lots of sorrow. And I will tell people to please reach out to you, because I feel like in a short amount of time that you can use a tool like this to help heal yourself rather quickly, and it's you doing it, you doing the work, makes you the best version of yourself.
I like that, the boss version. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then you're just better around all the other people that you're with. You get to feel what it's like to love yourself for the first time. You get to feel what it's like to, you talk about our life experiences shape who we are. And I always say, but they don't have to define us either, right?
Yes.
We do get to be fluid. It is called the journey for a reason. We get to keep moving through it. You have a box, have a quote on your website that really hit very personal for me. You say that your intense emotional pain and rejection left you questioning who you were as a person, your beliefs, and your truths.
Yes.
Do you remember putting that on your website?
Yes.
Do you remember the moment you put that on your website?
I do, and it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. It was a physical experience putting that there, right? The beautiful thing about our minds is it doesn't know that it's happening now or if it's happening when it happened.
Yeah.
And when we can come from a healthy adult space and go back to that moment in time and tell that piece of us, hey, I've got you. You're safe to feel that. If you're lost, let's get lost together. I'm here with you. And you meet that part where they're at. If I knew who I was today when I was going through that, totally different experience.
Yeah, what would you say to her now?
I would tell her, in fact, I would give her a place to be heard and say, what else do you have to say to me? I'm here to listen to you. I've got you.
That's a beautiful thing, because I think often, especially when you become codependent, you constantly want validation from everybody else all the time.
Yep.
It's this constant, because my book ends intentionally at a beautiful moment of getting readopted at the age of 26. But there's 25 more years of extremely unhealthy patterns of circling back to all the people that, let's say, wronged me in my story, and still asking if they'll be in my life. Am I worthy now? How about tomorrow? How about next week? Will next week I be worthy enough to have in your life? Like, there were just these constant, why am I not enough reminders? And I think as soon as we learn healthy tools like this, like the adult chair, we learn to get the acceptance and the validation from ourselves.
Yes.
And we're not continually searching them from other people who are also working on getting their own validation. Like, give everyone a rest for a minute.
Right. As a recovering codependent myself, I'm
going to start using that one.
I had to state what was true, and that's what brought my value back to me. I had to state what was true. I'm a master certified coach. I've graduated from college. I did this. Yeah. That's what's true. And then when someone wanted to twist it a little bit, my boundary was like, that's not true for me. Yeah. I have a different experience. So stating what's true, truth and fact is where we come from in our adult chair, or the healthy adult.
Truth and
what's
fact.
Truth and fact?
So we create less of those chaotic stories we always create in our mind of all the things that aren't true, but we're just manifesting the nonsense over and over.
It's those ruminating thoughts from the adolescent chair. This is where stories and assumptions are, in the adolescent chair. Yeah. So in our adult, we become story busters. Okay. We bust stories and we state what's true and what's fact. That also keeps us safe. We set healthy boundaries from our healthy adult.
Well, I'm so grateful to know you. So grateful. And all the experiences that you've helped me to learn about myself. And I just really want to offer that for all the listeners, that there's so much capability that you have to heal yourself. You just don't have the tools yet, but I really believe you have that. And please reach out to Shanna. She does personal coaching, group coaching, workshops, all the things. Her website information will be found here. And gosh, I just can't even thank you enough. I'm so grateful you're here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for this. Yes, please reach out. Oh, appreciate you.
Thank you for joining me today on the Garbage Bag Girl podcast. Always remember, you matter. Please subscribe and share this podcast, and visit CelesteEdmonds.com to join my mailing list.